Hey there, everybody. It's John Sanderson again. I'm here to talk about religion in a way that we can hopefully reach common ground with one another to find a way that we can all agree and sort of move forward. I feel like too much of the conversation has become very rife with what I call fundamentalism, which what I think a lot of people call fundamentalism. I've never seen anybody pin down what fundamentalism actually is, and so that's the point of this video. Um, Fundamentalism is this idea that we are certain in something that is uncertain, and we will go with that. Uh, so, in our previous video, we defined religion as uncertainty, as sort of ideas that are sort of in there, and we know that they exist, but we can't measure them. Not in the way science does. We've just got something that we think is it's in there, right? Ideas like love, grief, justice, hatred, religion, right? So what fundamentalism does is it comes from that religious sort of idea that we've got an idea, something that is tangible, right? Something not something that's intangible, very clearly intangible, something that we're not sure is right or wrong, but we're going to go with it. And people do that all the time. I mean, that's what we're doing right now in our governmental society, right? Where we've got democracy going on here, and we think it's the right way to go, so we're going to go with it. All right. It seems to be working out for now. We'll see how it goes. But fundamentalists take that and then they say, that is right, and we can prove it. That's the thing. They make this scientific claim that we have an idea that is right and we can prove it. So you have a religious idea claiming to have a scientific basis. So what happens, right? So the scientific community does what the scientific community does, which is they seek to prove that you are wrong, because that's what science does. It's a self-checking sort of thing. They think to themselves, is that right? Can we prove that? Let's entertain this idea. And again, they show that, nope, you're wrong. Like, you're wrong. You can't prove that to be true. Um, Great scientific minds have tried to prove, for example, the existence of God. Isaac Newton attempted to do this and was shown to be wrong. You can't prove the existence of God. I don't want to get too much into God because I'm going to save that for another video, but and you can use that with any idea. You can't prove love. You can't prove democracy. You can't prove justice. You can't prove atheism, even. You can't prove that God does not exist, right? And to make the claim that you can prove it makes you a fundamentalist. I believe X to be true, and I can prove it. Because saying I believe X to be true is one thing, right? I believe whatever to be true. That's fine. That works for me. That's it. I believe X to be true, and I can prove it means that you are now thrusting that on someone and expecting them to believe it as well. So the scientific community outright rejects this, right? They outright are just like, no, you can't prove it. Go away. So science has already rejected fundamentalism. Bam. Done. Religion is yet to do the same. And I would really urge, and I would really want people to create the distinction in their minds between fundamentalism and religion. Very different things. Religion is just the exploration of ideas. They're trying to find this kind of common ground with one another, finding things and ideas that make sense, connecting with people in a very true and honest way. We see a lot of groundwork people do this, a lot of priests and preachers and all this kind of stuff. They really understand. Like, I have to go out there and I have to help. And I have to try and make things good between all of us, right? As you go higher up in the hierarchy of these organizations, it becomes harder and harder to see that to be true, especially right now with the Catholic Church. Anyway, that's another video for another day, and so on and so forth. So it's up to religion now to create the distinction and to separate itself from fundamentalism, and to do so in such a way that it makes it plain. Religious people should be interested in science, should see it as true. We should not be fighting against science. It's a stupid thing to do. The founding fathers of theological thought for Christianity said outright, if science shows something to be true, believe it and go with it. reject, and if it counteracts a religious idea, then reject the religious idea because it's no longer useful. It has no use. So we need to kind of uproot um, this fundamentalist thought because what's happened is you have the atheist community specifically. Let's be very specific. The atheist community is very much against religion because they've mistaken fundamentalism to be religion. You have people like Richard Dawkins or Chris Hitchens or George Carlin or Bill Meyer talking about religion in a way that is very much from the fundamentalist position. They say things like anyone who has a religious thought should be a criminal. Right? It's a militant idea that they're representing. But what they're talking about is fundamentalism and not religion, right? They're talking about this idea that creationists are stupid, and they go no farther than that. And yeah, creationists are stupid, but there's more to it than that. Once you uproot kind of the fundamentalist thought and you start to communicate in a way that is actually honest and meaningful with the people around you about what these things are and what things are, everything becomes a bit clearer, right? I'm just going to pitch out some ideas here, some things that people will disagree with offhandedly and that I'm going to make videos about in the future, I promise. Ideas like the White House is a church. It's essentially the American Vatican, right? But we don't talk about it like that. Corporations are kings and have little palaces, right? We don't talk about it that way because the language is confused. We've confused the language because of fundamentalism. Because there's a group of people out there who believe they can prove something that is inherently unprovable. And they do so with zealot-like vigor. So it's up to the religious people in the community now to acknowledge that what fundamentalism is outright, I believe in something and I can prove it. If someone says that, those kind of steps, I can prove it. Or if they say, I believe that and that's just what I'm going to believe, right? That kind of stubborn approach. It's a fundamentalist sort of thing. The stubborn refusal to admit what is plain as day in front of them. Creationists fall very neatly into this. We can show very plainly that no, the world is more than 6,000 years old. But their stubborn refusal to accept that and to fall back on crazier and crazier and crazier theories is something that we as the religious community need to reject, as the scientific community has rejected. And so that we can reach a hand out to the people who are saying science is the way and say, no, science is part of the way, but so is religion. So is the understanding of love and truth and justice and the communication of these ideas in a very real, honest way. Letting us talk about things for what they are as opposed to what we really want them to be. The idea of God, for example, God is not a man. God is not a being that we can perceive and understand and communicate with, right? God is an idea that goes through humanity, that separates us from the animals. But we can't say outright, that is it and I can prove it, right? So let's just all remove fundamentalist thought from the way we think. Let's just get rid of it entirely and accept the truth of things for what they are. And only through doing that, only through getting rid of fundamentalism and for understanding what science and religion are and why they're important, can we move forward with honest human connection in an effort to grow as a species together in love. That's my 10 minutes, everybody. I'm going to be talking about God in my very next video, and I hope you tune in, and I hope you've enjoyed. Send any questions, comments, concerns, anything to my email account connected to this YouTube video. Thanks a bunch.